Time with the defensive play. Now finds Jalen Gray. Oh, my goodness! He did it! Oh! Jazz, the Jazz turn it. Oh! Cam Whitmore. Shingun goes coast to coast. Oh! Here's Williams. Here comes both teams. Here comes Rocket Security. And we got a score.
Red Nation Blogger back with another video. I told y'all I will be doing more of this today. I got Kenny for real. The Houston Rockets continue to prove everyone wrong. I really like the content in this video. I want to watch it with y'all. I'm going to skip through it a little bit. Some of the spots I'm going to skip through. It ain't going to be the most perfect jumping back and forth, but, you know, we will get better with it.
2 total games with a week left. The difference between hosting a playoff series and missing it completely, potentially. But before we talk about this season, let's take a look back on last year. I know y'all remember they had that spurt in March where they went on a double-digit game win streak. I don't remember if it was 11 games, 10 games, whatever. And they ended the season as a 500 team. There was a moment last year where people questioned, oh, will the Houston Rockets be able to catch up with the Golden State Warriors and take that 10 seed? They didn't. But they showed the blueprint of what the team could potentially be. But going into the season, it was kind of hard for me individually to project what the Rockets were going to do. Going back to that video where I was doing projections,
It wasn't hard for me. Pause. But it wasn't hard for me to project where the Houston Rockets would finish this season. But go ahead, Kenny Cook.
Them on the outside looking in, because a lot of people are looking at the Memphis Grizzlies, who had one of the most injury-riddled seasons ever in the history of this sport. They're going to have John Morant back, they're going to have Desmond Bain back, and then they already discovered players like Vince Williams Jr., G.G. Jackson. They should be back to being a playoff team. People are riding the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama just had a ridiculous rookie season, and he got better and better and better, and he could be a top 10 player in the league. That might mean that the Spurs can host a play-in series or a play-in game. The Pelicans, though they lost Zion Williamson in the play-in game, you just think about it, man, the Pelicans are putting some stuff together, and they made a trade for DeJounte Murray. So this league, this conference that was already ridiculously tough last year should get tougher, and this young Rockets team may not have enough to really compete. Well, we were wrong. I think even the most optimistic Rockets fan going into last season couldn't have projected that they would be the 2 seed in the Western Conference. That is insane. And when I say things are
okay. Right there, he's right, but he's wrong. I predicted on this very channel, you can go look at it, I said the Houston Rockets will, for a fact, win 50 games this year. I even said I might get ignorant and say 55 games. Now, I didn't know how tough or how weak the Western Conference would be. I didn't know the seeding. I knew guaranteed Houston was going to be in the top 6. I said, I don't see play-in at all. I think that's out of the water. I thought that a play-in season would be a failure. But 50 wins for sure. And looking how everything shook out in the West, seeing as outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston is the only 50-win team in the West, still going 52 wins currently. I definitely saw this coming. I did.
I think things are getting lost. When you look at where teams are right now, I've seen a lot of conversations over the last 2 weeks like, hey, being a play-in team, being one of those 7 and 8 seed teams is not that bad, because if you win that game, you get the Rockets in the first round. And a lot of people are looking at the Rockets as like, I don't know, this team that's going to get dominated by a more experienced.
A lot of people are looking at the Rockets as free eats, and they got us fucked up.
Team like a Minnesota or one of these 7-8 matchup teams. And though that might be the case, I think that really diminishes what the hell or who the hell the Rockets have been this season. Last year, Ime Udoka, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, Jeff Green, all of the veterans and the new coach that they brought in really set the identity of the Houston Rockets being this gritty, defensive-oriented, get all in your face team, right? And this year, they've taken it to a whole new level as they're tied for the second best defense in all of basketball, right? The thing that has shifted this year to make them get to the point where they're winning 50-plus games, which again is crazy to say aloud when you think about what this roster is that the offense is starting to catch up to what that defense is, and they're doing it in an untraditional way. They're one of the few teams in basketball that's top 10 in offense and defense. It's OKC, it's Houston, it's Minnesota, it's Boston, it is Cleveland, and Memphis. That's it. Those teams are top 10 on both sides of the ball. Houston is the first example I bring up when people talk to me. When people find out that I talk basketball for a living, specifically some of the older dudes, they talk about how uniform the game really is. Everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's chalking up threes. Everybody doing this. I say go watch a Houston Rockets game, because they're one of the teams that we say the 8th best defense in basketball or 8th best offense.
He's exactly right. There's so many people in the NBA community that think and they say with their chest out, everybody plays the same. And I'm like, go watch the Houston Rockets. And they're like, oh, they play the same exact way. It's like, you don't watch basketball. You don't like watching basketball. And you want to protect whatever era you grew up watching. You want to protect that era. So you say stupid things like everybody in the league play the same. There's no way that you watch the Boston Celtics play basketball and you come away with thinking that, oh, they play the same way as the Houston Rockets. It's just no way.
Offensive basketball while not being one of those teams that's getting up a ton of three-point shots. And it makes sense, right? If you look at their rosters, some of their starting units, you look at it and be like, yeah, there's not many plus shooters on this team. One of my favorite things about the Rockets season, and this basically happened over the last month or so, is the double big lineup between Alperen Sengun and Steven Adams. That lineup has dominated teams, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but it showcases that like every team in ball is not playing the same way. Hell, even some of the other double big lineups in basketball, we talk about the Cleveland to the OKCs of the world, they have at least one of their bigs be like a guy that can hit a three-pointer, right? You think about Evan Mobley's three-point progression over the season, or Chet Holmgren, who's always been a guy that can hit threes. The Houston Rockets, nah. Their double big lineup that they've been throwing out there randomly in games, they are legitimately sitting in the paint. And they're pairing that with Thompson, who is also not a shooter, not a spacer. They're one of the best interior passing teams I've seen since like, I don't know, 2015 San Antonio Spurs or something like that. San Antonio Spurs or something like that. I have now watched back their game versus OKC multiple times because I thought it was one of the most phenomenal games of the season for them. Of course, OKC running Chet and Hartenstein, and then the Rockets decided to start both of their bigs together. The spacing on this team, again, is not going to be good. You think about how teams guard Thompson. This is the guy, I'm sorry, right here is the guy that is assigned regarding Thompson.
Yeah, I'm going to skip a little bit of this. He's just talking about some film work, which I do like. I do like when people show film and they show proof of how teams play differently. But I want to get to when he's talking about the double big.
Thompson, again, just showing my overall fascination of this double big lineup. So far, they've played 144 minutes together. They have an offensive rating of 127 and a defensive rating of 93. Small sample size, 144 minutes is not that, not that large. But it's this number that stands out above all, where the offensive rebound rate, I'll round up for you. At one point, it was 50%, but now it's down to 47%, which means that for every 2 shots they take, about one of them, they're offensive rebounding. And that's how you get to the offensive rating being so damn good without the adequate amount of spacing. Ime Udoka's done such an amazing thing. And one of my favorite wins from them, again, this season is when they played against OKC, where they straight up just bullied Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. Now, those two teams played against each other 5 times this season, so it's hard to really figure out what should you take away from this game, what shouldn't you take away from this game. But just taking that game at face value, those two bigs, Sengun and Adams, just work very well together. Let's talk about Thompson, my boy.
Before he gets to Thompson, I gotta be honest. When I found out that Ime Udoka was starting that game, the OKC game, featuring Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun, I was like upset about it a little bit because I'm like, Steven Adams is not a good matchup versus OKC in my opinion. The last time that we had played them, I think the first time that Houston played them this season, I remember being like upset with Ime because he put Steven Adams in there versus their small ball lineup, and he got literally exposed. We got torched in a quarter, and I think the first quarter they ended up 39-39. After that, we literally lost every single quarter after that, and it directly was because of the Steven Adams minutes, and we were always playing catch-up after that. That was the very first game of the season, though. The team has come a long way. We've learned a lot more, but yeah, it has worked out, and it did work out versus OKC. Kenny did show it in the film. You should go watch this video if you want to see the full film breakdown.
I mentioned this before, but Thompson is the type of prospect that I would give up so much for my favorite team to have on theirs. Like, of course, everybody wants the Wembys or the LeBrons, the generational talents, of course. But
Thompson is generational, 100%. Thompson and his brother are generational talents. Is so generational that I have thoughts to myself, and I have said it out loud that I'm kind of glad that we got him, and I'm happy. Like, I understand what Wemby brings to the table, but Thompson is just as special.
Having a guy like Thompson on your roster just changes the trajectory of your team. Because like I mentioned, he's one of the best baseline roamers in all of basketball. He's one of the best defensive players in all of basketball. And he's the best athlete maybe ever in this whole sport. Like, he is the perfect kind of player to have on pretty much any team, right? And you think about the lack of jump shooting, and maybe the jump shooting never does end up happening, but you're seeing him on a team at 21 years old that does not have spacing and still end up being ultra effective, right? So if he ever just becomes, let's say, league average shooter, I don't even know what to say his ceiling ultimately can be. Because if I was projecting he's going to make an all defensive team this season, and he's 21 years old, y'all. He's going to make an all defensive case this season. And I think that's going to be the case for the entirety of his career. That guy and his brother care about stops. And that is a unique for somebody that young. And getting back to the original point of it kind of getting lost in like what the season really is, like you think about the Detroit Pistons, right? The Detroit Pistons had one of the biggest total points jumps ever, where I think they were the first team to ever triple.
I'm a fast forward past the Detroit Pistons part, but he did make a good point with talking about that, and he's gonna circle it back to the Rockets.
That their favorite team sees the Houston Rockets. A lot of that conversation ends up being that the Rockets, in pretty much every series that they go in, won't have the best player on the court. And again, you think about who they could potentially go against. Against the Clippers, they won't have the best player. The Warriors, the Wolves. I mean, you can make the argument for the Grizzlies, I guess, but I probably wouldn't make that argument. So, like, they will be going in without having a 1A guy. And that's one of the major criticisms of the Houston Rockets, right? When it's going down to the nitty gritty, how can they score in the clutch? And there have been times that I've watched in this season and I question that as well. I think about their game versus the Lakers from last week, where they went through this stretch in the fourth quarter where they put up 0 made field goals. It ended up looking really ugly. And I think that's a warranted like critique of the team, right? All these other teams we mentioned, like, hey man, they got a 1A superstar or somebody very close to that. They're like, give that guy the ball and he can make something happen. Whether it's win or loss, we trust Anthony Edwards, Steph Curry, Kawhi Leonard, Nikola Jokic with that ball, and the Rockets don't really have that. The best thing they have to that is like a Jalen Green as far as a premier shot creator, or Şengün, who does close out games as well, but obviously those guys aren't at the same tier of closers as some of the other guys I mentioned just a couple seconds ago. And all that's cool. You can have those conversations, and I think, again, some of that is definitely warranted. But one of my least favorite things is that so many people neglect or devalue regular season success. I'm a guy that can recognize that championships and playoff series wins, all of that is very important. But I think ring culture has gone so far that it prevents people from really appreciating and being like, hey, so-and-so, this team or this player was really good, even if they didn't end up winning a championship or even if they didn't have a really far playoff run. In my mind, I look at rings as nothing but an added.
He's 100% right with that take. And me and Kenny, like I listen to a lot of his content, not all the time, but some of the time when it comes up. We're very like-minded in how we see basketball. Ring culture has really destroyed the enjoyment for the average fan. It has become, if you don't win a championship, you are X. If you win a championship, you are Y. And it's like, that's not how basketball is. And I know from talking to like my father, for example, he said they didn't care that Dominique Wilkins didn't have a championship. They liked his game. You know what I'm saying? He went out there every night and he played his game the way that he played. And, you know, obviously I understand that basketball has grown as the fan has gotten smarter and everything like that. But it is a problem when we start comparing and saying a team had a complete success or failure based upon how far they went. Now, if you're a team like OKC, your expectations may be a little different. If you're a team like the Houston Rockets, I feel like a first-round exit or a conference finals run is a successful season, seeing as the building blocks of where you started, having 17 and 55 win seasons to now being one of the best teams in the Western Conference. That's a huge step no matter how far you go into the playoffs. So to say, oh, the Rockets season would be a success if they didn't go to the championship or if they don't win a championship, it is a huge problem, and ring culture has definitely made the waters toxic. Made the conversations toxic.
He was really good, and he ended up with 2 championships. But I never look at a player and say, oh, that guy was really good, but no championship, so he couldn't have been that good. You know, It's always a positive and less of a negative when someone doesn't do it because there are so many individual factors. And the reason I'm bringing it
Now he's good. He's using good context there, but it's like sometimes, for example, LeBron James in the 2011 finals, James Harden in the 2012 finals. You cannot play like that in the finals, and then we say that that's not a negative stain on your legacy. You know, like it definitely is. Like that right there, I really don't agree with him, although I do understand his overall point.
Bringing that up for the Houston Rockets again is that I do not believe that them being a 2 seed in the Western Conference, that they're going to go out there and win a championship. And that will be okay. I think I can still look at a 52-win team that average age is this and say, hey, that team had a phenomenal season.
Correct.
And it was one of the most fun teams to watch all season long.
Correct.
And that can be okay. There's just too much fake 1 seed, fake 2 seed, fake this seed, all of that conversation. I just never really understood.
That's the media. That's all the media, man. Like the media makes fans like Kenny, fans like myself, make it seem like it's just this crazy, insane, paranoia type coverage of the league, but it's really not like that. You do not have to view the game like that if you don't want to. It's intelligent fans out here.
Understood it. It's like, are you watching these games and having fun with what the Houston Rockets did? One thing that got neglected throughout all of the Stephen A. Smith versus LeBron James stuff and before that is that there was a time when the Rockets were on a 10-game win streak. Not a single person said a goddamn word about it. Nobody cared.
That's a fact. They just beat OKC over the weekend. They just beat Golden State on Sunday. And the first thing that they talked about Monday on First Take was more about Draymond Green potentially costing the Warriors a championship run than the Houston Rockets at all. They didn't talk about Ahmed Thompson's defense on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They didn't talk about Ahmed Thompson's defense on Steph Curry. They talked about Draymond Green. They talked about the Lakers 4 to 5 times. That's the type of stuff when fans vote in the All-Star game and you wonder why LaMelo Ball has so many votes, or you wonder why LeBron James has so many votes, or Steph Curry. Yes, those guys are popular players, but you put them in our face, pause, every single game. Every day you put them in our face, Monday through Friday. We don't get to hear about the Detroit Pistons as much. We don't get to hear about the Houston Rockets as much. We hear about 5 teams a year. And then half the time when they do cover a Cleveland, when they do cover a Detroit, Stephen A is joking, oh, you know, I want to be in Miami and LA and La La Land and I love my. It's like, it's no basketball analysis. So that's a problem.
Nobody cared. No, nobody cared at all. It was a win against this team and those teams ain't very good. Well, they just beat the OKC Thunder, who are on pace to be one of the best regular season teams ever. They're on pace to have the best regular season defensive rating ever relative to the competition. That's how good of a defensive team they is. They just beat them again. And then they went against the Warriors, who basically the Warriors were undefeatable with Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green in the lineup together. They went against the Warriors and won that game as well. This team is really good and really fun to watch as well, man. And though, again, some of these people beneath them, I might take in a 7-game series, I'm not looking at the Rockets as a team that's just about to be this pushover like some people might be looking at them as. But I do think this playoff will be important, right? A lot of people are trying to mock up the Houston Rockets acquiring a 1A player so like they can be in that conversation. Hypothetically, they go out and get Kevin Durant, they go out to get Devin Booker, they go out to get somebody else that's on the market that's really, really good. You look at that Rockets team, like, oh, now they have a closer? But I also think there's a world where they don't do that at all. Just looking at the progression of the players that they've already seen in this roster. Alperen Sengun's an all-star this season, a warranted all-star this season. Ahmed Thompson is everybody's favorite young player in basketball, right? And maybe there's a world where they just say, no, we're completely okay because y'all might be bugging on what y'all want for Kevin Durant right now. You know what I'm saying? So we're okay with continuing to be a young, exciting, and good team and see where our current players progress. They got good people in charge. I trust they'll figure it out. You know, you do look at it and say like, oh, guys like Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepherd, these younger dudes in the roster that a lot of people believe in don't really get enough time, and that maybe that is a reason to consolidate and go out to get another dude, which I can understand. But overall, I know I've been all over the place. This season has been so great for the Houston Rockets, and I'm hoping y'all watching and appreciating it.
Yeah, man. Kenny, we need more like Kenny. We need guys that care about the sport of basketball. We need guys that want the sport of basketball to progress. I would prefer to see him on First Take more than I would prefer to see Kendrick Perkins or Stephen A. Smith or Doggy. I would prefer to see that type of analysis for 15 minutes and 7 seconds over OKC, KFC, UFC, Lakers, and 5. That's just my opinion. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Comment below. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with. Let me know what you agree with Kenny. Let me know what you disagree with Kenny. Please like and subscribe once again. Thank you for watching. RedNationBlogga out.